We're in a bit of a mess as correction officers. I've been on the job for 26 years, and I've never seen it this bad before. I have my theories on how it got this way. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but let's go over it. Back in the 90s, early 90s, the inmates began to sue the department. They started suing the department at a record rate. They would sue for $50 million, $60 million, $95 million. I, being an ESU, was the recipient of a couple of those lawsuits. And we would go to Corporation Counsel and be indemnified by the department and be represented. And they'd sue for $50 million, but they'd settle for $3 grand. They'd sue for $95 million, but they'd settle for $4 grand. The department started this terrible policy. I'm sure it was someone's great idea to settle all the lawsuits because going through the process was going to be too painstaking and expensive. So they figured, hey, we'll take the easy way out and we'll settle. So lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit was settled by the department. Then a little bit of a lull in the action came, and Board of Corrections started a little bit of an uproar. Hey, what's going on? Now, mind you, I've been to several Board of Corrections meetings, and the majority of the people that go to those meetings are ex-inmates and inmate advocacy groups. I don't want to say anything bad, but I'll say that there's two sides of every story. There's actually three sides of every story. But the inmate advocacy groups and the ex-inmates tell one very dramatic side of the story. So then they start going to the Board of Corrections meetings and talking about the horrors that they've experienced and how terrible it is in jail for criminals and offenders. They start bringing up all of these lawsuits that are settled by the department, and certainly we know that if you settle a lawsuit, it's pretty much taking an L. You're giving credibility to the accusations within the lawsuit. So lawsuit after lawsuit being settled, inmate advocacy groups and ex-inmates going to the Board of Corrections meetings, Board of Corrections people and others going into a little bit of an uproar. They start talking about the inmates' mental well-being, etc., etc. And wouldn't you know, the media gets involved. Now the media is involved, and they start portraying Rikers Island, a culture of violence, I think they call it, and Rikers Island and how horrible the things are there. And this wave comes about. Certain people started getting put in certain positions, coming up with bright ideas. I've got a great idea. Let's make no age limit for correction officers. No physical requirement for the job. So you don't really have to be physically fit at all to take a very physical position. So no physical requirement, no age limit. Then they started doing things like placing cameras everywhere. And don't get me wrong, we do our jobs the way we're supposed to. I do my job the way I'm supposed to, whether it's on camera or off. But the cameras give these inmates a sense of protection, I guess, or a sense of... I'll give you an example. You put your kid on camera, okay? Your kid acts a certain kind of way. They do something cute. You put them on camera. It makes them act 10 times cuter, 10 times more flamboyant, 10 times more likely to do something crazy because they're on camera. You put the general public on camera, and it makes them act differently. It makes them behave differently. It has the same effect on the inmates, except this effect is dangerous to officers. It's almost like, nya, 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 my big brother is behind me and you can't do anything to me. So the inmates start assaulting officers. The inmates start acting crazy on camera and in areas that there's cameras. They start spitting on the officers, which was something that in my 26 years was unheard of. Now spitting and throwing crap on the officers through the bars is suddenly not only acceptable, but it's happening all the time because they know that the cameras are on and that nobody's going to confront them about it. So they do it more and more and more and more. Then you have another bright idea where they started taking away punitive segregation. The inmates it affects their psychological well-being to be locked up. You place them in jail for committing an offense. I don't know what could affect their psychological well-being more than that. You can no longer pay your bills. You can no longer see your family. You can no longer do anything. You're confined to a cell and to an institution for an undetermined amount of time. When you come to that institution as an inmate, you begin committing more crimes, showing your true criminal nature. You commit more crimes within the confines of that correctional institution. Are those crimes any less important than the crimes that are committed out there where they incarcerated you to begin with? So now, within the correction system, you commit more crimes. But for some reason, the decision makers decide that, hey, we're going to take away the power of the officers to control these violent offenders. We're going to take away punitive segregation because it affects their psyche to be locked up. These individuals have made a terrible mistake. They portrayed solitary confinement as punitive segregation. They painted this picture that we place these individuals in a hole, a dark hole with no light, nowhere to go to the bathroom, and we slide their food under the door and treat them inhumanely. That couldn't be farther from the truth. These individuals are in the same size cell as everybody else, in the same type of housing area as everybody else. They're only limited to the amount of time that they can come outside. That was a non-violent way for officers to deal with violent inmates. And now, they've taken that away also. So slowly but surely, they're handcuffing the officers that are supposed to have care, custody, and control over these inmates. They commit offenses against officers, and 75% of the time, when an inmate assaults, splashes an officer, the evidence cannot be produced for the district attorney to prosecute the case. This is a mismanagement, to say the least. Suddenly, the current laws that are on the books now, let me enlighten you. Assault of a correction officer or any peace officer in accordance of their duties is a Class C felony, punishable by up to 15 years in prison. This is surely not being applied to these individuals. There's a law on the books called the consecutive sentencing law, which states basically that if you're incarcerated and you're currently serving a sentence and you get found guilty of an assault on a correctional officer or other correctional employee, your sentence is to be run consecutive, which means You do your first sentence first, and then if you're sentenced to a year or 6 months or 2 years, whatever it is, that sentence comes on the end. That's not happening now. What's happening is these individuals are getting consecutive sentences and $1 bail. So now, whatever sentence you're serving for whatever it is you did, that's good enough. When you're done, you're done. We know you assaulted a couple of correction officers on the way, but hey, it is what it is. And here's $1 bail. There's no deterrent from these individuals. So not only are the policies and procedures against us, but there's no deterrence. This whole spiel that I say for a reason. Several years ago, as a board member, I brought up to Norman Seabrook, hey, we should go to the Board of Correction meetings because they're only getting one side of the story from the inmates and inmate advocacy groups that go down there. Now, they don't apply the laws. They don't make the laws and rules and regulations of the department, but they influence them. And as of lately, they greatly influence them. So why wouldn't we, as the bargaining unit that represents correction officers, have representatives at every Board of Correction meeting, everyone, and tell our side of the story? When they stand up and say one thing, we can stand up and say, well, this is how it affects us. When they say, well, this is how inmates are affected by this, and we can say, well, this is how it affects correction officers. That's not being done. The solitary confinement issue, again, was brought up by me years ago to address the Board of Correction and others with regards to solitary confinement and its importance. Again, was told, no, leave it alone. Now, as of late, I see the COBA scrambling to go to a particular Board of Corrections meeting or another when our officers are being assaulted more and more. The assaults are more and more brazen. 190 water and chemicals, slashing of an officer's face, holding them down, stabbing someone in the ear with a pen. These things were never heard of before, but they're happening all too regularly now. I ask you, whose responsibility is it to ensure correction officers' safety? Yes, it is the Department of Corrections. Whose responsibility is it to ensure their members' safety? That is the COBA. They are failing you miserably. The things that are occurring more and more frequently, and we have less and less intervention from COBA. I haven't seen the lawsuit filed. I brought it up in several union meetings. They said, yeah, we'll look at it. I haven't seen a lawsuit filed yet. They talk about it. I haven't seen it happen. We have workplace violence prevention law. People are not even filling out these workplace violence forms. We can't even get a board member assigned to workplace violence to collect these things and make a case for us. Everything deals with workplace violence. Every assault, every splashing is a workplace violence incident. I have news for you. Even your overtime is a workplace violence incident. Because of that, because of the astronomical overtime, officers are so fatigued that they can't even do their jobs properly. This is going to ensure poor decision making and a mistake. And then guess what happens when you make a mistake? You got it, charges. And you got it, the charges are going to be astronomical. And you got it, Kohler and Isaacs is going to represent you on the charges. Good luck. I find the union responsible for many of the things that are happening now. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, we love them and we love them. They're great. They have good parties and they did things for me and got me a gate 1 and did something for my family member. I get it. I get it. That's what unions do. That's what they do on a regular basis. But on a whole, correction officers on a whole, how are you really faring with the union? How are your benefits? Do you like them? Are they good? Because they haven't been changed in a while. How do you like the protection you're getting as correction officers? How do you like the representation you're getting? How do you like the representation you're getting at Oath? How do you like the way they treat you at HMD? How do you like the fact that after 25 years or 20 years on this job, dealing with the most violent individuals in New York City, that when you retire, you have to now turn your guns in for like a year? A year, as soon as you get out, a year you have to be without your firearms. How is that not even addressed? I could go on and on and on and on, but you have to be enthusiastic. You have to be in touch with the correction officers in order to see these things. You have to be a correction officer. I believe Norman Seabrook hasn't been a correction officer for a long time. I believe he is a manager at this point, and he has a managerial mindset. You can see it the way he violates his own policies at COBA, his own bylaws, violated constantly. I can go on and on about that. You can see the way he operates with the executive board, how he doesn't allow them to do their jobs, doesn't allow them to make decisions, doesn't allow them to speak. He makes all the decisions on his own, and he enforces the fact that they have to be a glorified delegate and go into the commands and deal with the wardens of the commands and do CD hearings and do disciplinary hearings and do labor management meetings, walk around and ensure the safety and health of the officers and the morale, and buy them lunch and buy fans for them. These are remedial tasks for an executive board member who was elected by you to run and proceed with the forward movement of your union. We have delegates that are responsible for those commands and dealing with the wardens and doing CD hearings and doing labor management meetings and ensuring health and safety in the facility. Why do we have all those delegates if the board members are supposed to do that? It's smoke and mirrors. And it is coming to a point now where it is affecting correction officers daily. Look, I'm a correction officer like you. I work for the emergency service unit. I respond to disturbances. We get all the calls. We see what goes on in these facilities. It is horrible. It has been allowed to become this way. These policies and procedures are changing on a regular basis, and they're killing us. They're going unchallenged. Why do we spend so much money on legal representation when we haven't filed a lawsuit or challenged an order or directive or anything? The union is not doing what they're supposed to do for you. I'm here to let you know that now. I want to change that. I want us to change that. In order to do that, we have to stand up, stick together, and make our voices heard. It's the only way it's going to happen. I know that you're doing doubles and triples, and all you want to do is just go home and see your family. I know you're just trying to get out of work as much as you possibly can so you can get out and have some sort of a life. I know you're watching your back and watching each other's back and wondering where the next attack's going to come from. Is it going to be the inmate that attacks you, or is it going to be the supervisors that want to write you up, or is it going to be a faulty piece of equipment that causes your injury? You need new, fresh ideas for our union. You need enthusiastic individuals to come in and do what must be done. There's no more enthusiasm. The union is at a standstill. It is time for you to take action. I'm here. I'm not going away. I'm here to help. Let's make the changes that we need to make. And let's ensure the future of correction officers from this point going forward. Let's get someone to stick up for us and to make our voices heard, because enough is enough. I'm William Valentin, ESU. Protect yourselves, protect each other, and God bless us all.